Hey there, Fai Cheng here with the survey responses. So thank you very much for participating, for taking part in the survey and filling it out. And we've got some great results, some interesting, surprising results, some as I expected. So let's have a look. Actually, as part of this, I'd like to do a little experiment if you're up for it. You know, at the beginning of presentations, especially when you go onto a boring webinar which goes on for 2.5 hours just to pitch you something great at the end, they tell you at the beginning, you must stop all interruptions, switch off your mobile phone, switch off your partner, switch off everything, stop breathing, so you can take the information in. Alrighty, I've got a little experiment for you, and I encourage you to switch off all distractions. Just be here in the moment. But if you don't, that's fine. What I'd like you to do is basically pay attention to when you're being distracted, and then that's fine, accept it, okay? At the end, I'm going to then show you why we're doing this. All right, so let's have a look at the results. The number one, the big question was, how do you like your content being delivered? Do you like teleseminars? Do you like PDFs? Do you like whiteboards? Do you like PowerPoint presentations? What works best for you? And you can guess probably from this setup what the number one, by far, most popular choice was. 43% of all people wanted the good old whiteboard teaching, which is why I have refilled my trusty pens. So we're going to do some, actually these numbers I'm just going to magically up here, because you can't really see those small numbers. But later on I'll show you a couple of nice circles. Circles are always cool. The second part was in what format would you like to have training? And it ranged all the way from something over a course of, say, half a year, continuous, every week you get your lesson and you go implement it, through a hardcore condensed, hey, 4 to 8 weeks, to the super hardcore condensed, everything in 3 days, do a live training somewhere in the snow. It's snowing beautifully outside. We're expecting about 1 foot of snow today. Yippee! All the way to one-on-one coaching. And what surprised me was that 40% of all people wanted one-on-one coaching. That was by far the most popular vote or option. Closely followed by the 4 to 8 week intensive care. So intensive care is, I guess, what we're going to do. So let's have a look at specific results then. Because if you remember, if you took the test, well done if you took the test, you will remember there was a free-for-all form. I didn't want to put what I consider is the most important stuff in there, so I left it free, and I was extremely pleased to see the responses that came in, because 1/3 of all responses that came in said, I'm going to do some magic here, okay, fast track. 1/3 of respondents said, we want to learn how to do conversion. I'm getting all this traffic to my website and no one is buying. I'm at number 1 of Google. No one is buying. How can I get people to buy from me when I'm doing exactly what everyone else is doing? I'm doing the kind of marketing, I'm competing with all these other guys who are promoting stuff on ClickBank. No one is buying from me. How can I get conversions? How can I actually make money with all of this? I am on page 1 of Google. I've got all this traffic. Yes. Lots of people also had traffic, etc., etc. But 1/3 of you said conversion is where it's at. That's what we really want to know, which is absolutely, you make me so happy. I really want to jump up and down, because it means you're listening. Okay, that's what I keep saying in my emails. Ultimately, it's not about having the greatest viral poo pile or the whatever, the number 1 in Google ranking and whatever. It's all about making money. It's not all about making money, it's all about playing out in the snow. That's what it's all about. But with your online efforts, the intermediate objective is to make money. And that's what you do with conversion. So excellent. That's great news. And that's something I'm passionate about, I love doing, and I can teach. Cool. Number two kind of falls into 2 categories. So this is number 1. Number 2, the first one was, and once again, magic. Number 2 was putting it all together in various guises. Okay, people use different ways of expressing it, but effectively it was, where do I start? How do I pick a niche? How do I select a product? Where do I get started? How do I put everything together? How can I replicate this? Someone said, how can I create a system which I can, once it's refined, deploy over and over again? He was describing it as, I've got this, I've got one site, and it's got all these visitors, and it's starting to make some money, and I've got an exact replica in a slightly different market, and it's not making any money at all. So how do I develop something I can deploy over and over again, beginning to end? I've got a system done, dusted, putting it all together. That was another big point. About, once again, 1/3 of all questions. Let's put it 30% because there was a tiny bit of, random stuff. And then number 3, once again, some more magic. Overwhelm. Okay, quite a few people looking at this. Where do you even get started? And I'm kind of overwhelmed. What do I do now? Either beginning to get overwhelmed or in full-on overwhelm, not knowing what to do. How do you get out of this? Again, this doesn't make me happy because people are overwhelmed. It makes me happy because my first big product online was Bare Knuckle Productivity, which is all about getting unstuck. I'm even happier because since I released Bare Knuckle Productivity, I figured out 1 or 2 things about this here, and I'm going to describe that to you right away, or straight away, right now, okay? When we look at these 3 points here, and instantly, this is literally how they came in, the questions, is 2/3 of the respondents said this whole putting it together and the overwhelm is a serious issue. And 1/3, and it's not quite 1/3, okay? 30%, 30, 30. 90% fall into this. This is basically all mindset, right? The first one is marketing mindset, and the second one kind of is entrepreneurial mindset, the self-employed mindset, choosing the business model, being effective as an entrepreneur. That's what this is about. And this one here is all about marketing mindset, sales psychology. All right, now I want to show you something really important, which is basically the foundation why a lot of people fall into this category, why a lot of people don't succeed with building something step by step, why a lot of people go, I need to have conversions, okay? So, time for a magic wipe. When you look at the market as it is at the moment, okay, what people tell you when you're stuck is basically it's your fault, you're not focusing enough, you need to focus harder, you need to be more effective, you need to do all these kind of things. And does that work? That's my question for you. The answer is probably not. And the analogy I've got is a couple of years ago I went diving. Lived on the Côte d'Azur, absolutely beautiful. Went diving on I think it was the 18th of December. Beautiful, sitting on a dive boat in a t-shirt, middle of December. We'd been skiing in the morning, so now we're out on the dive boat, jump in, go diving, and if you've ever been diving in the Mediterranean off the French coast, it's very, very boring, all right? There's nothing. It's relatively deep, it goes down to 30 meters, and there's nothing in between. When you come to bottom, it's sand. So imagine my excitement when I discovered this little cave. But it's not really a cave, what it was. Here's the flat sand, and a couple of rocks kind of piled up like this. And this kind of looked big enough for me to swim through. So I thought, okay, cool, I'll swim through there. A buddy of mine was on the other side waving at me, yippee. Swim in there, and of course, physics, the whole 3D thing, big dive tank on my back. I got stuck in this thing. Alrighty, what now? You know what? I just need to push harder. So pushed harder, and was flipping, sucking in air like mad. And all that happened was I was basically wedging myself in more and more. Wedge, pushing harder. What do they tell you? You need to focus more. You need to push harder. You need to be more effective. Okay, boom. Squeezing harder and harder and harder and harder. And reality is, it doesn't work. Okay, most people who are stuck, they're stuck. And you're not going to get unstuck by pushing harder. there's a second aspect to this, and that is this. You have a website. Here is your lovely website. You have got all these visitors. They're coming here and they are doing what? They're bouncing off. They're not buying. How dare they? How dare they not buy? That's what we want them to do. And that is basically the marketing mindset, okay? Everyone keeps telling you, you need to do better sales psychology. You need to use, whatever, better offers. Create better offers. Create better, bonuses. Create better squeeze pages. Create better, whatever, headlines. All that kind of stuff. And then this will happen. Well, truth is, it doesn't. It's the same with this here. You're just using sales psychology to push harder. Push harder, push harder, push harder. End result, you know this as well as I do, it doesn't work, okay? Pushing harder in all of this doesn't work. Big question then is, why do we all push harder? Where does that come from, this sort of, needing better sales psychology? If only you had the upsell tree. There's something Mike Filsaime came up with, like this crazy product which was all about having 7 gazillion upsells and downsells, okay, the upsell tree or something like that. If only you have the upsell tree, if only you have this collection of swipe files, if only you have, then they will not bounce off your site and will go through here. And that is total and utter BS. I'm afraid that's what it is, okay? So underlying this marketing mindset and underlying this entrepreneurial mindset, I think I would say I have cracked the code, okay? I've looked at this long enough and hard enough to have figured out that basically everything that's being taught is focusing on the wrong end of the equation. And that was an unfortunate pointing, because that's where we want to get to, okay? We want to get to money. And unfortunately, what is happening is, here's this tunnel, at the end is the money. And everyone is looking into this, and everyone is pushing as hard as they can, and they're not getting through. So what I'm suggesting is, there's another way. And there really is another way. All you need to do is one change in perspective, and it'll all fall into place. Alrighty? So, what I've done is, I've put together a presentation. But before I tell you about this presentation, I would like you to answer the following question. Did you manage to stay engaged? Or did the mobile phone call you? Did your partner call you? And did you get distracted? Because if you are so in the grip of this thing, this sort of jumping around and being overwhelmed, etc., then most likely that presentation I'm going to share with you in a second is not for you. Okay? If you're so overwhelmed that you cannot pay attention for what was probably, I didn't time it, 10 minutes, okay? Then what I've got for you is unlikely to work for you, because although it's a simple shift in mindset, it's going to take more than 3 minutes to explain, okay? Too many people have this popcorn attention span where they go, I need information in 3 seconds. I mean, you've been on my list for a little while, some longer, some less, not so long, and you'll notice my emails are fairly long. Why? Because if you want to explain something that's fairly complex, it takes more than, hey dude, go check it out. Okay? And the same here. If you can't pay attention for 10 minutes, I would be doing you a disservice. Okay? It's not meant to be mean or anything, but really to understand this fundamental shift in mindset, the marketing mindset and the entrepreneurial mindset that are being taught in the market at the moment are, in my opinion, rubbish, and I base that on the fact that people are not really getting the results they deserve and want to. Alrighty? So I'm proposing the other way around, but to unprogram all of this and program in something new, it's going to take a little while. Holy craboli. All that snow suddenly melted. Temperatures came up like mad, big sunshine, and boom, look at this. So I quickly whipped out my diving gear and, safe. Oh, am I all dry? Alrighty. There was a bit of discontinuity, or lack of continuity, and it would have been just too confusing for me to suddenly stand in front of a white whiteboard, and hence I had to go and dive. But honestly, it was very melty. Alrighty, so what I've got for you now is basically that presentation, and it's going to be a webinar, so you can ask lots of questions. That works best for everyone involved. You can ask questions, I can answer them, rather than me sitting here going, By the way, this whole thing, your inbox is probably exploding. Hey, this is what I'm going to do next year. Well, yeah, cool for them, but here's what you should be doing, or we should figure out what you want to do next year, so you get the success you want, as opposed to what the gurus want to do. Anyway, so presentation, I'm going to go as long as it takes. The core presentation, taking all these things, the marketing mindset, the entrepreneurial mindset, choosing business models, and I've got a thing on the currently sort of 3 factors that are all converging on one point, which kind of make, previously, look, with all this diving, even my pens have disappeared. It's terrible. Let's see if we can see orange, all right? Previously, it's almost like this big dish, and if you roughly hit the ball into this big dish, you kind of could succeed. But currently there are about 3 factors that's sort of all converging on one, and if you're following the old models, the model at the moment is a bit more like this here. So you have to hit the ball into here to make it a success. And I'm going to cover that in the presentation. And that, as a thank you for you being on my list, is for free already. So the usual drill, somewhere around here there's going to be a sign up link to the webinar. It's GoToWebinar, maximum capacity 1,000 people, so if you can make it, cool, but sign up early and show up early. I'm going to actually start teaching right from the beginning, alright? It's going to start at 10 o'clock Eastern, and I'm going to start at 10 o'clock. So if you don't do the I turn up 10 minutes late, I'm not going to tell jokes for 10 minutes just to make sure everyone's online. Alright, that's the first thing. And the second thing is conversions. So what I've done is I did some serious head scratching, and I've decided to put together a conversion course. And conversion in the sense of designing everything you're doing with the objective of getting conversions at the end. Alrighty? None of this pushing harder nonsense where you go I've got this thing here, I've got traffic, and it's not converting, and now where can I tweak? This is about designing everything, your whole sales funnel, whatever you want to call it, your system, your business, from the ground up, so the conversions are pretty much a logical thing happening at the end, as opposed to a random, oh crap, what do I do now? Let's do some conversion testing and see if we can improve this thing. And that you can find probably in a link down there as well. It's a training, it's happening live, it consists of 3 sessions. The first one is basically I teach you, probably on a webinar type thing. Me standing here and melting. I want to keep this live so you can ask questions, so it's probably going to be a webinar, but I'm going to have powerful and fun looking slides as opposed to boring text, including a bunch of case studies, my own, and stuff I found around the web. The second session 2 weeks later, so you have a little bit of time to implement, you then get a review session where we go through case studies, both the ones I pick, and if you submit yours, cool, we can go through and you get live feedback. I'll show you, what you've done great and where you can improve, and we learn from each other. And then about a month later, we'll do another session which is kind of to keep the momentum going. That's, I think, as you've seen with the whole, how do I build something from start to finish? How do I get started? How do I keep motivated? It's one of the key components. So there's going to be a session a month later to keep the momentum going. There we look at great ways of taking what you've already done to the next level. So it's not one of those trainings where you go, well, here it is and see you later, bye, but this is kind of following up and really making sure you implement this kind of stuff. So 2 things right now. First one is the free training, where we kind of look at the overall market picture, looking at things like, how do I get started? How do I start 2013 with a view to building a system that I can actually then go in and start implementing? And that's a free session as a thank you for everyone on my list. And the second one is the conversion bootcamp, consisting of 3 sessions, and you'll find both links down there. So I hope to see you on either or both of those, and speak to you soon.